So welcome women to module 8. Today this building was zoo. So list building is one of the most exciting anything you could ever do for your business, because this is where you actually get to connect with people who you are meant to serve in the world, which is super exciting. So list building is one of those things that people typically just want to give and give. Thing about strategy or marketing is kind of stuff that people tend to miss. So this is really where the rubber is in your range, impact, influence, and the people that you can serve. So welcome. Let's see who is on right now. Anneke, Eve, Michelle, Anna, Yuke, Barbara, Susanne, Angelica, Susan, Isabella, Dominic, beautiful, and more dropping in. I can see by the second almost now. More and more women coming in. Awesome. Just checking in where you are from today. We have Germany in the house, Ibiza, Amsterdam, New Jersey, Antwerp. Awesome. And I'm in Amsterdam right now as well. I think last week I was in Amsterdam too. Sweet. So as with last week, we have today's module pre-recorded for you. So we will be injecting myself and Leonie into the live stream, and through we are going to take you through why it is so important to have an email list, why it's so awesome, and why this is pretty much like the #1 thing that you should be focusing on in your business. And we'll go through really practical and organic and effective ways to grow your email list in a really fun and juicy way as well. And we are also going to go into your communication plan. So in other words, what the fuck do you do with them once you have? So this includes your free opt-in offer, as well as your blogging strategy and any other communication that you have with them. So in the meantime, feel free to write in the chat at any point if you have any reflections or questions. And at the very, very end of today, I'm going to open it up for Q&A. So if you have questions, and save them right to the end. The content, like the meat of the content, of 3 minutes, give or take, something like that, just so you have a bit of a time frame. And so with that, we have some more people Dutch. So with that, we are going to dive into Leonie taking us into Lily. It is so freaking amazing. So into you on the other side.
Hey there, gorgeous. Welcome to module number 8. Today we'll talk about list building. So how to actually use an email list to build your business, widen your reach, and create a more powerful impact and income. Today we'll talk about why we think that having an email list is the #1 most important thing for you to run a business. Then we'll give you some tips on how you can actually grow your email list. We'll also tell you exactly where to place an opt-in on your website so that as many women or men as possible opt in for your email address. We will share with you ways to actually stay in communication with your ICA after she has opted in to your email list. And at the end of this video, we'll give you some powerful tips and resources on the tech side of things on how to actually set things up. So with that, let's get started with the first part. Why do we think that having an email list is the #1 most important thing for your business? Well, just ask yourself for a second, what exactly is it that makes the difference between having a hobby, something that you're doing just for fun, and having a business? The answer is pretty simple. It's quite straightforward. It's the fact that you're working with customers. So customers are really the juice of your business. And an email list is simply a way to gather their contact details so that you can stay in contact with them. So everybody who is on your email list has voluntarily told you, hey, you know what? I am kind of interested in what you're sharing with the world. I think I would like to know more. I'm not sure if I'm really ready for buying something from you yet, but you know what? Just keep me in the know. I think that what you're doing is great. So that is amazing. Can you imagine just like actually having a database of beautiful women or men that are interested in your work? It's like totally magical. The more people that you have on your email list, the bigger the impact is that you can make, and the bigger the amount of money is that you can make too. So there's a couple other reasons why we recommend that you build your customer base as an email list rather to, for instance, on Facebook as followers, or on Instagram or on YouTube or wherever it is on social, that you could also create followers. There's one massive difference, and that is that those email addresses that people give to you, you basically own them. I mean, for the time being, not forever. The difference there is that a company like Facebook, which is amazing, or Instagram can easily change their terms. So for instance, I think 1 or 2 years ago, Facebook had a massive change. Before, when you had a page that people could like, everybody would automatically get an update from you when you would share something. It was kind of as if you would have with your personal profile. And now all of a sudden you will need to actually pay in order for people to receive your post if they liked your page. So that is a massive reason why you want to gather those email addresses instead. Another thing that happened, for instance, with YouTube just a couple of months ago is they changed their advertising program. So a lot of people who had a major amount of followers on YouTube and used to be very successful now have way less reach because their videos are not distributed and not paid for properly. So that's why we absolutely recommend that you build your email list. Another practical reason is that most people, when they come to, for instance, your website, they do not just buy something immediately, right? Let's just imagine that you have found somebody interesting on YouTube and you just found out about them. Probably you wouldn't buy a program from them right away. You would just want to follow them for a little while, see what they're up to, and then you may consider purchasing something. So that's another reason why email lists are great, because it allows you to stay in connection with someone. And with doing that, you're also really in it for the long run. You don't just want to give somebody a superficial, thing, or like just sell them a program immediately, even though that would be awesome, but you're really trying to give somebody a long-term transformation. Having that email list, being allowed to reach somebody, also gives you the opportunity to build trust, for them to get to know you, for you to share more about your brand and who you are. And a lot of this we already covered in module number 4, so check that out as well. But the amazing thing is that if you communicate with somebody through email, it's like this love relationship that we spoke about before. It's gently having somebody fall in love with you and what you're doing, and then naturally purchase something from you once they're ready for it. A little note on a question that we received about this content. Somebody asked, okay, well, isn't that kind of sketchy when you're sharing something as a gift, but actually you're getting somebody's email address? Well, it's not really. Why are you getting somebody's email address in the first place is because you want to serve them. And the free gift that you're giving them is already there to serve them in the first place. The only reason you would feel guilty about it is if you would be trying to make money without actually making a difference for people. It's not sketchy. People want to hear from you. You probably have a couple of authors or teachers that you are following, and you know that you love to receive everything they share. You may not open every email, but there's so much of their content that you're just absorbing because you know that it's adding value to your lives. So when you can do that to somebody, it's actually nasty not to do it. That would be sketchy. Obviously, you want to make sure that you're in it for the right reasons and you're not just there to generate some quick cash, because that's not who you are. You are here to make lasting transformations in people's lives, and you're simple being the medium for that. And it's a natural tendency for people to first get to know somebody and then that they want to have a deepening. That they are like, oh my gosh, I've seen so many of these free videos, let's say some teacher that you followed online, and you're like, okay, now I think I want to be there and I want to follow a live retreat, or I want to do one of the online programs as a deepening. So it's kind of like a natural tendency to actually want more. And you know what? Some people may never ever buy from you, and that's okay. Isn't that the magic in the first place, that there's this amazing freedom? People can enjoy your deliciously amazing free gifts and your content and get inspired by that. So you've made your content available for the entire population. And then for people who have that commitment, who are like, yeah, I want to go deeper, they can choose to go further on a deeper journey with you. So on a very practical level, how does it actually work to have an email list? When people give you their email address, which can be either through people who you meet and literally give you their email, or through an opt-in online, you take those email addresses and they go into something that's called an autoresponder. Sometimes it's also called an email service provider. Basically, what this is, it's a special platform that gathers all of your emails. One of them, for instance, is MailChimp. And you might ask, okay, well, why would I do that? Because I can also just send them emails through like Gmail. Well, there's a couple of reasons. First off, sending massive amounts of people a group email is actually illegal. Yes, that's right. You probably know how much spam goes around, right? Like, it's really annoying. You have your junk mail full of like unnecessary stuff. So a lot of people are kind of trying to abuse that. So there's this regulation worldwide that if you want to send an email to somebody on like a group basis, they need to have the option to unsubscribe from that email. And that's totally possible inside an email autoresponder. So that's a massive reason why you don't want to use Gmail. Also, if you use an autoresponder, it's so much more practical, because otherwise, like, if somebody doesn't want to be on your list anymore, you need to do it manually and you need to like keep track of it. It's really a hassle, especially if you start getting like thousands of followers. You want to have a practical system that works. Autoresponders also allow you to really track who has opened your email and who is most active as a customer. And then afterwards, you can start sending specific emails based on somebody's activity, which can be very interesting once you start doing some email marketing. If you're serious about your business, you absolutely need an email list and an autoresponder. Even for a restaurant or a store, having your customers' details is just like, amazing. It's a godsend. They allow you to reach them and you can just impact them in such a beautiful way. So with that, how do you actually grow your list? You probably know some of this already from module number 4, but Ronja is going to guide you now through some ways, some other ways to actually grow your list the organic way.
Just a second.
What did it say?
Hey ladies, so let me just check. The video kept on rolling fine for me on this side for the entire way through. So can you just let me know if... Okay, cool. You can see me. Beautiful. So yeah, if that happens, if any kind of freezing happens, then just reload the page and that should get you right back in. So I have actually no way of reloading it from a little bit back or towards the video. So please let us know if you can see the whole thing. We'll make sure that for the replay that everything is in there in any case. So if you on your side had anything freezing, then basically you'll be able to catch the entire thing in the replay. So for now, we are moving into part 2 of list building, which are the specific strategies for how to grow your list. So enjoy. Okay, women, so now I'm going to go into some easy and effective strategies for growing your email list the organic way. Now remember, women opt in for your email list because you are actually serving them. So make sure that the way you grow your email list is a way that is actually serving them, not just to get their email so you can send them a bunch of stuff. So I'm going to go through a bunch of different ways that you can grow your email list. Now you don't have to do all of them, remember. Just pick whatever ones feel the most easy, inspiring and effortless to you, because they are going to be the most fun and the most effective for you. Now the most obvious way to grow your email list is through what is called an opt-in offer. An opt-in offer is simply a free gift that you send to your women or to your men in exchange for the name and their email address. And we have already gone into depth, quite deeply, into how to create an awesome opt-in offer in module 4. So make sure that you go back there to reference what is called the 4 E's, the art of reverse engineering the sale, and so much more. So an opt-in, just to recap, can be anything really that you can send to them. It could be something physical, but ideally it should be something that is instantly accessible and downloadable, that is digital in format. Now this can be a video, it can be a multi-part video training series, it can be a PDF or an ebook, it can be a guided meditation either through video or audio, it can be an audiobook, it can be a podcast or an interview, it can be a cheat sheet for something, it can be a guide, it can be some simple tools or tricks, it can be a few recipes if you are a chef, and so much more. If you have a store, it can also be a discount, it can be an exclusive membership to your free tribe. It can be anything that inspires and excites you. Now, what constitutes an awesome opt-in is that it's either one or both of A, that it solves a very specific problem for your ICA, and or B, that it is super and ultra inspiring. And now for some other ways to grow your email list that are equally awesome are to have a webinar or an online free masterclass. So for this, you would simply put up a webinar registration page, either inside Webinar Jam or Zoom or whatever platform you decide to use. And then you can share that with your already existing email list. But most importantly, to grow your email list, you want to make sure that you share it on Facebook, on social media, on Instagram, wherever you hang out. You can also have a challenge or a live immersion like we did with the Live Your Passion challenge. It could also be like a little mini retreat series where for say a week or 3 days you guide women through some pleasure practices or some guided meditations that all happen live. So this is like a live version of the guided meditation opt-in. Of course, in any case, sharing your opt-in on social media is a really great way to get people to opt in, because that's where so many people hang out. Another great way to grow your email list is guest blogging or being interviewed by other people. This can be through a written interview or through a podcast or through a video interview. So if you know somebody who has a big email list that has a similar ICA to you, then you can reach out to that person and ask or offer to be a guest blogger. And people very often are looking for more content for this site. So this is a way that is usually very appreciated by other people as well. And that's where you can strike up some really cool partnerships with people, where you kind of cross post and you both share each other's content with your respective email lists. Another way related to guest blogging and being interviewed is what's called an affiliate system, where somebody will share your stuff for you in exchange for a commission or percentage of anything that you sell to those people when you later on offer them something. So that is something called an affiliate system. Now, an affiliate system can be either super simple or quite complex. If you want to learn more about this, then just Google the nitty-gritty or the essentials about affiliate systems, because this is a really cool way to partner up with people that you resonate with and to help each other grow each other's networks. And now something else that is related to guest blogging, guest posting, and having affiliates is what is called the buddy factor. And the buddy factor simply means that when you are associated or seen together with somebody who has either a big following or is seen as like an icon in your field or just a really cool person, then when you are associated together with that person, then you are instantly seen as very much kind of an equal or almost the same as that person. So if you know somebody who has a big following, if you can co-create something, if you can do an interview with them even, or you can just be seen in a photo together, as stupid as it sounds, then that instantly elevates you in the eyes of your ICA as well, especially if this is a person that your ICA really admires and follows and is inspired by. Then if you're hanging out with that kind of cool person, then through the buddy factor, your ICA will begin to see you as kind of level and equal to that person as well. So that's really cool. Now, some live versions of growing your email list are things like networking events, speaking gigs, parties, conferences, festivals is another great way. So when you have a speaking gig, say if you're a speaker somewhere, even if it's just for a few people or for a massive audience, doesn't really matter, offer a free gift to them in exchange for their email. It might be a free consultation or your existing opt-in offer. And now, of course, in festivals, this is an amazing place to grow your email list. So when I started teaching workshops and live events, I would often go to festivals and teach. And then I would make sure that when I teach a workshop for, say, 60 women or 200 people or however many, that I always have sign-up sheets where people can put down their name and their email list, their email address on paper. And then I'll promise to send them, say, a guided meditation or something in exchange for this after the festival. And of course, in a festival, that's a prime place to also let them know that, say, 3 weeks from now or 2 months from now or however long from now, there's another deepening workshop coming up. So teaching in festivals and conferences and bigger events where there's a lot of people hanging, that's an amazing way to both get a lot of exposure for your live events and for people to get a taster of you, as well as to grow your email list. Now, I think it's so stupid when people teach in festivals and they don't do this. So make sure that if this is something that you do, always have sign-up sheets and make sure that you give them something in return. Say a discount to the upcoming workshop that is for festival participants only or similar. And now, as a bonus today, we want to give you a Kickstarter idea for how you can begin to grow your email list already today. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to send a message to your 100 best friends on Facebook saying, hello, and then you put in their name. So this, you can basically copy and paste the whole thing. You just need to change the name in the beginning, or you can even say like, hey beautiful, or hey goddess, or something like that. If you're sending it to a bunch of women, say, hey, first name, I'm starting a new blog on the topic of, and here you insert your exciting topic. I'll be creating some epic content every 1 to 2 weeks, and I think you might love it. Want me to put you on the list so you'll be the first to know when it comes out? If you do, hit reply with your favorite email and I'll get you in. PS, and here you can insert a little personal message about like, would love to catch up soon, or just like, hey, I see you're doing awesome stuff, or you could skip the PDFs and just keep it kind of copy and pasteable in a super quick way. Now, I wouldn't necessarily recommend doing this in a group message. People tend to think that that's kind of super spammy, so I would recommend doing this on a one-on-one basis. If you know that you are creating an opt-in, then you can also pre-tease that and have people pre-opt in. For example, when I created the 9 Secrets video training series, then I posted a bunch of times on Facebook saying, I'm right now in Hawaii filming for this, and if you want to be the first to get to know about when it's out, then leave a comment down below or send me a personal message with your email. I'll make sure that you're on the early list for when this actually comes out. So this is how you can get people to opt in even when you don't have an opt-in offer yet, simply by letting people know that you are in the process of creating one and that you would love for them to get it once it's out. And you'll be able to use both the playbook for this module as well as for module 4 to map out and create your awesome opt-in offer. So once you have your opt-in offer, then where should you place it? And so we have listed here the best top places to place an opt-in form. There are some other places as well, but if you just get these one nailed, then you are going to be way ahead of like 90% of people who are like just fooling around online and not really knowing what they're doing. So first of all, you want to make sure that you have an opt-in, what is called above the fold on your website. So this is what they see the first thing when they land on your website before they have to do any kind of scrolling. So your opt-in should ideally be visible before a person has to move their finger at all. It should be there right front and center. Second best place to place an opt-in form is in the sidebar. So this is usually on the right hand side. See, on a blog post, on the right hand side is usually a sidebar, and at the top of that one you can place an opt-in form. Another awesome place is at the end of a blog post, because when people have read, say, through your entire article or watched the video, then they are super likely to be enjoying your content, so you can mention that and then offer them to opt in to your email list together with a free gift, of course, at the end of your blog post, at the end of your videos, which ties into at the end of, say, a video on Facebook or on YouTube. You can have a call to action, what is called a CTA, a call to action, saying, you know, if you enjoy this video today, then you'll absolutely love my free gift that I have for you. Just go to this link right here and get it right now. Super simple. Just make sure that you pretty much always, you don't have to have it every single time, but very often in your videos have a call to action. And now this is not sleazy because you are actually offering them a gift for free. Another place to place an opt-in is on its own page on your website. So in the top menu or in the side menu or whatever is your main menu on your website, there should be something saying free gift or free resources or free video training or free guide or something that represents whatever your opt-in offer is, so that has its own page and its own link. So if you have, say, for example, you might have about me, contact, blog, live events, coaching, free resources. The fewer you have, the better usually, but if you have, say, a few links up there, then definitely have one that is specifically to a page where your free opt-in offer resides. Now, this leads me into a different point, which is that your opt-in can either be a form which sits on your website and people just put in their name and their email right then and there, or it can be a clickable button that then takes them to what is called a squeeze page or a landing page, which is a separate page where they then put in their name and email. An example of this is the 9 Secrets series that I have. So if you go to my website and you click to get it, you click a button that then takes you to a page where you get the full opt-in information. And now, if you don't have a website, this could actually be your website. And this is not something that is not necessarily true just in the beginning when you're starting out, but there are tons of super successful, multi-millionaire, super successful people online where the only thing that they have as their website is actually the opt-in. So it's basically just one page that has the opt-in offer, and that's the only thing. There's nothing else on the page at all. And on a landing page or a squeeze page, the super simple way to do it is simply to have a headline with like a compelling promise that basically gives them the gist of what they will get in this free gift that you're sending them, a place where they can put in their first name and their email list, a call to action, and some form of either big beautiful photo or a video. So basically graphic, headline, opt-in offer. That's the only thing that you need to have. Now, if you want to have a few more things, then you can also add a few bullet points about the benefits that opting in for this offer, whatever the promise or solution is, will give them. So they might be 3 bullet points or 5 bullet points or 7 bullet points or something, where you describe exactly what this will get them. You can also add testimonials, which will give you social proof. If you have been published in the magazines, been interviewed by somebody, been on TV, anything like that, then you can also put in an as seen in or as seen on. And then you can put in those things. That also adds to social proof. And you can also have a testimonial, say from the Buddy Factor thing. Maybe you can get somebody who's a bit more famous or a bit more well known in your field to write just 1 sentence about how awesome you are, and you put that on there. That is another really great way to add social proof. And if you want to have anything longer, then you could write a bit more of a description. But basically you just want to have a place where they can put in their name and email, a headline, perhaps with the subtitle, a graphic, a photo, or a video. If you want to add more, you can add a few bullet points and social proof in form of testimonials, quotes, and any name dropping of magazines and TV shows you have been in. And we will of course add into the playbook different resources that you can use to create your opt-in pages, your lead pages, your squeeze pages. And what I use for this personally is what is called ClickFunnels, so you'll find a link to that. And lead pages is another one that is really popular, and we'll put in a few more that you can try out. You basically just have to intuitively be guided to whichever one resonates for you, and then try it out and get started. And in terms of the length of the squeeze page or the landing page, you just got to test it. So when you create it, you can create one that has just like a photo of you, a call to action, and an opt-in. And then you can create another one that has a few more bullet points with some social proof and some other things there, and see which one converts best. If you don't feel like testing, then don't do it. Just go with your intuition and count on that it's going to be good enough. And if you come up with a better idea or get feedback, then you can always tweak it later. Now, the last place that is really amazing to have an opt-in is the pop-up window, the dreaded, infamous pop-up window. And you can love it or you can hate it, but it actually really works. So a pop-up opt-in is an opt-in that pops up on the website, on your website, when somebody has been there for a little while. You could have it show up immediately, that the first thing that somebody sees is a like full screen pop-up where your opt-in is the only thing that they see, and then there's a little X or something that they can click to remove it. You can even have this, I think I have had this pop-up thing on my website for some time, and I might actually add it back up, about the 9 secrets, where you can either say, yes, I want in, or you can click, no thanks, I hate amazing sex. And that's how you close it. So that's like a humorous way to create this kind of full screen pop-up. And for that one, we'll also put in the playbook the resources you can use for the pop-up opt-ins for this. And a pop-up can also be something that is time delayed, so that, for example, when somebody has been on your site for, say, either 30 seconds or 2 minutes or 5 minutes or 10 minutes, then it pops up. And it can be nice to have it time delayed as well, because then people don't feel like you're like right there in your face with something kind of maybe semi-salesy the moment that they land, but it's more they get to browse, they get to kind of taste and get to know you a little bit and get to read an article, and then it's like, hey, do you want to have this free gift? And it's a bit more subtle. You can also have it triggered so that it pops up when they have finished reading an article. In some of the pop-up softwares that you can use, they also have that kind of function, which can again be really nice, because you know that once they've read to the end of a blog post, then they are very, very, very likely to want to hear more from you. Now, another version of the pop-up is the slide in. A slide in is simply a opt-in form that slides in from the side at the bottom of the screen at the end of, say, an article or a blog post. Oh, and one more thing actually is something called the hello bar, which is a top bar that you can make sticky at the top of a website that just says something like, click here to get 15% discount on your first order, or click here to get a free audiobook or a guided meditation, or whatever your opt-in is. And that you can either make so that it's at the top of the page before people start scrolling, or you can even make it sticky so that when people keep on scrolling, it just stays nice and slim right at the top and kind of keep on like nudging them subtly and gently for their attention. So there you have it. That's all about how to grow your email list. Tons of ways to grow your email list. And next we are going into what you actually do with them once you have their email, which leads into your communication plan. All right, ladies. Sweet. So, and then I'll save them for later. But I will bring it in, but just think of them for later. But now we are going to move into what it is that you're actually doing with your list once you actually have one. So Leona is going to take it away and guide us into your communication master plan strategy. So enjoy and see you on the other side.
Now that you have the email addresses of all these wonderful, amazing people, you want to treat it like gold. And although you might be like, yeah, well, now I have the address, this is really only when the journey begins. Because this is the moment where you can actually start sharing all of your amazing free content with them and build up a relationship. Here are some things that you can do to make your communication with your ICA a success. First off, you want to start by delivering on what you promised. So in case people signed up for a webinar with you, you want to make sure that you deliver on that and you do that powerfully. If they opted in through one of your opt-ins, like a free PDF, you want to follow up on that and make sure that they receive an email that's going to give them all the information that they requested. Also, if you told them that you're going to send them daily messages, make sure you actually do that and you stay in touch with them, because that shows that you are trustable, which will make it much more likely for people to keep on following you and eventually buy from you. Then in your emails, you want to make sure that you give people value. So there's a number of things that you can share. We covered a lot of this in module number 4, your free gifts to the world. But amongst other things, you can send an email that's just simply short and inspiring, that reminds them of their power and who they are up to. You can share a video with them, you can send them to your blog, you can send them to a podcast, or share some other interesting free content. Now, what's important to realize here is that short is not a bad thing. We may feel like we need to create a video that's super lengthy or like a novel worth of a blog, but honestly, in this world, we don't really have super much time to look at like massive bunch of contents. So even if you just share like an empowering email, that can really change around someone's day. I've very frequently gotten emails from women that are like totally changed around from just one simple email that I wrote. So don't underestimate the impact that you can have, and don't make the mistake that it needs to be a lengthy novel. At the same time, don't make what's called the Happy Meal mistake. Just because you're gonna share with somebody, don't make it something cheap. It still needs to be of quality, but that doesn't need to mean lengthy. Next, you want to keep in mind how your ICA wants to feel when she receives your email. And for much more detail about this, go back to module number 4 and watch the part about the 4 E's. So you can really get clear on the feelings that you want your ICA to experience when she opens your email. And when you're sending an email, you might feel like, oh, that needs to be like really official. Not really. That's kind of like the old style of marketing, maybe. But the most compelling thing, and what really reaches people, is when you communicate with them in a relaxed type of way, which is really the friend factor. Talk to your ICA in your emails as if she would be a good friend of yours, because that will most likely give you the relaxed tone of voice that will really allow you to be able to connect with her. Another powerful thing to do as you're writing an email is to talk to one person, so your ICA, instead of to a group. It's been shown that when you just send a personal message to someone, and once again, you can do this in your autoresponder by adding in this tag called first name, so that when she receives an email, it's really pointed directly to her. Why would you do that? Because usually when somebody opens up their email, they are not with a bunch of people. So saying something like, hey guys, or hello everyone, sounds really broad. It doesn't sound like a personal approach. So make use of the possibility to personalize messages inside of the autoresponder and talk to one single person, because only one person at that moment is reading. It's going to be more obviously, but speak to that one ICA. Then you want to aim to be consistent. There's nothing worse than sending off like an email like every, I don't know, either day at first, and then all of a sudden not hearing from a person for like months. In order to gain trust from somebody, you need to create some kind of consistency. And if you feel like you can just totally flow with that, that's absolutely fine. However, I would recommend that if you're just starting off, you choose an interval of, let's say, 2 weeks. But generally, we'd recommend that you use an interval of anywhere between every day, depending. Let's say you would share an inspiring quote every day. That's intense. Don't start with that. I wouldn't recommend it. Up until once a month, which is really kind of on the scarce kind of side, but it's still doable. If you're starting out, I would recommend that you start off with doing it once every 2 weeks. Eventually, you may want to sell some things through your email. That's kind of what it's for, right? As you're going to be doing that, just try to make sure that you look at the ratio of what free information you're sharing and when you're selling something, so that that kind of feels in balance, that you don't turn into like a selling machine. And in general, I think maybe a ratio of 1 to 5 would be good, so that you kind of keep that in balance and people don't feel like they're always being sold to. That being said, when you're selling something to someone, try to package that still in a piece of content that may still inspire people. So one example of this is, let's say that you would be selling an online program about, I don't know, jade eggs, and you have a blog post, or you share an email that talks about 5 empowering ways to use the jade egg. And then at the end you can say, P.S. there's a course coming up. Interesting. So that blog doesn't immediately say when you open it, I mean the email doesn't immediately say when you open it, buy my new course. No, you can call the email 5 beautiful ways to use the jade egg. And then in the PS you can sell. So as you're selling, try not to be salesy. And what do I mean with that? If you're going to continuously receive emails from somebody in your inbox that start with buy, 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 you already know. It's just not interesting anymore. So there's some smart hacks and techniques for that. And there's a few websites that have some great resources on how to actually write empowering sales emails as well as other emails. So we'll put them down in the resources below so you can get more informed on that. And here's a tip. To learn as quickly as possible about how to write beautifully crafted and also powerful selling emails, the best way to do that is to follow people you love, people that have beautiful products that inspire you, and just subscribe for their email lists. Every time you get a beautiful email that inspires you, either in terms of the style or the text, the content, save it somewhere in a special folder on your email so that you can go back there and actually get inspired and see, oh, look at that. That's so smart. That's how they are actually doing it. And that's a very quick and easy way for you to learn more about how to write powerful emails. Note, that doesn't mean that you will copy them. Please do not do that, because that's just nasty. But there's nothing wrong with modeling people. As long as you give things entirely your own twist, there's nothing wrong with being inspired by the types of titles or emails that people create. In order to create a communication plan, it's actually very simple. You might think like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna write about? But here's what I want you to do. Open a Google Doc or take a sheet of paper and just write down for yourself, what kind of emails do you love to follow? If you would create something for your ICA, what could that look like? How frequent would the emails be? What style would it have? How would it make your ICA feel? What content would it have? Or what would you talk about? From that, go and create the email marketing that inspires you. When it comes to the tech side of things, setting up your autoresponder is pretty straightforward. There are a couple of different providers that we could recommend, but if you're starting out, the easiest and prettiest one to start off with would be MailChimp. It's great because it's available 100% free up until 2,000 subscribers, which may take a little while in the beginning, so that's great to start off with. Another service that we could recommend is called ConvertKit. This service starts at $50 per month and it's slightly more advanced. It is a bit easier to work with still than MailChimp, and it's very useful if you are already onto multiple marketing sequences, so you may have multiple lists and you want to do some segmenting, then ConvertKit might be an interesting option for you. All of these details will be available for you inside of the playbook for this week, so check that out. If you choose to go with MailChimp, it's very simple. You can just go straight to their website, create your account, and you're good to go. So with that, we've come to the end of module number 8. So in this video, we covered why we think that having an email list is the number one most important thing when you're starting your business. We've also given you some practical ways to actually start growing your email list. You've learned where to actually place opt-ins on your website to make sure that as many people as possible sign up for your list. And we spoke about what to actually do once somebody has signed up for your list. So we created a communication plan for you to be able to follow up with your customers. So that's it for today, and we'll see you in the next module.
Okay, my loves. So there you have it, the entire list building wazoo for today. So now our space is open for questions. So I'm just thinking, because it seems like some of you are having like a perfect flow connection and some of you are having video being frozen. For me, the video has now ended, which is why I'm talking to you again, but I'm just curious about if you can see that too. So we will simply watch the replay back and see if the entire thing is in one flow there, and then we know how to kind of modify it from that point onwards. So we are now open for Q&A. So today was quite a big module in terms of actionable stuff that you can actually dive into and begin to build your email list. And we would love to hear from you about which of these strategies do you feel like would be the first thing that you can start running with. And also if you have any questions about any part of it, the tech side, the creative side, anything. And so what I want to really communicate to you all with this is that the best way to go is to start with one and get that one nailed down, and then add another strategy and another one. And if you do not have a website, then to just create a landing page where literally the only thing that is there is an opt-in with either your current opt-in offer or even just a teaser of an opt-in that is coming soon is the number one thing that you need to have as a website. It's even more important than having all your services listed. Although if you have services, then you can definitely add that there too as an extra little link or even further down the page. But to have front and center and opt-in where people can join your email list is definitely the number one thing to focus on. By the way, I'm just seeing here in the background, it's like we have been drinking so much juice, like the organic apple mango juice and multi-fruit and grape juice and stuff, which kind of looks funny. It looks a bit like other people have like beer cans standing in their apartment and we just have the juice bottles. Okay, so terribly sorry for those of you who had video frozen. We'll be looking into that and contacting the webinar support team to see why that is, if that's on our side or if that's your connection being too slow or whatever. So we'll definitely be looking into that. So it seems like it might be a personal connection thing on your side. And if it's something that we can do anything about, then of course we will do that. So Isabel, yes, you say. Thanks, Ronja. That is very helpful. I have been doubting between creating my website or a landing page. So I would say do a landing page. I mean, it could be the same thing, literally, like on a landing page. And for those of you who don't know, if you don't know exactly what we're talking about with this, a landing page is simply a page where pretty much everything they can do is to opt into your email list, usually with a free gift, of course. And there, if you want to turn that into more website, and underneath your opt-in, you could add a little section about yourself. You could even have a little contact thing or something that you have if you want people to contact you for sessions or workshops or anything else. But yes, a landing page is a great way to start, and that you can create either through WordPress or wherever you have your website, or you can create it straight into, say, for example, either ClickFunnels or Lead Pages or any of the other ones that we recommend. And we're going to post this, of course, in the playbook so that you can click the links there simply. I think we've mentioned both, at least ClickFunnels, maybe also Lead Pages before. Personally, I prefer ClickFunnels because Lead Pages is mostly just a landing page, whereas in ClickFunnels you can create so much. That's where we created the entire sales page and website for the Abundant Passionpreneur program, as well as for the Live Your Passion Challenge, as well as for essentialyogine.com. Okay, so let's see. So Susanna says, I have a list where it's a mix of people who I've never worked with and people who I'm currently working with. I guess building segments in MailChimp would be great. Are you doing this? Several segments or several lists? Thank you. Yes, so I have in MailChimp or in ConvertKit, then I have one list that is kind of like a master list for ronjasebastian.com, which is my email list that I send out my newsletters, my blogs, my videos, my general updates to. I have a kind of partial segmentation divided into men and women. Like maybe 1,000 or 2,000 other people there are divided into men and women. I stopped doing that at a certain point because it just took too much time. But that is a great way to do it. And yes, definitely when I have a workshop or something, then I put them into a segment in the same list saying attendee, say Sensual Bliss Weekend, 22nd of October, 2017, whatever it is. That is actually a made up date. There is no workshop happening there as far as I know. But a segmentation within the list is a great way to go. And if you have a separate event where people sign up for the event by signing up for your email list, then I would say create a separate list for that. So I do a combination of both separate lists and separate segments. And if you have a specific question about should you do a new list or a new segment for a specific thing, then you can just ask me and we can talk about that. But in general, segments is the way to go. And if you have a specific opt-in, a specific workshop, say, then it can be great to have them in separate lists. In ConvertKit, you can also do all of this in terms of what's it called? Like tags and sequences and segments. So usually you can just have one list and you can segment them according to whatever is appropriate. And so for those of you who are new to this, Susanna in this case would simply have a segment of people who are already her clients and people who are not yet. Very simple like that. So Eve asks, would you say what we share in regular emails should be more about them, something useful, inspiring, or also sharing some nice experiences that we had? For example, I remember enjoying your email about the darkness retreat. Nice. I honestly struggle to think of something high quality to share every 2 weeks. And then it looks like your message was maybe cut off. So let's see if there's anything more there, because it just says hello. Yes, so you can share both. It can be really nice to combine them in the sense of that when you're sharing something useful or inspiring, you can also start with, hey, I'm writing to you from this place, or right now I'm going through this process. Anything that just makes you more human or relatable. But yes, you can definitely, I would say in general about them, every now and then you can just share something that's super inspiring. But you'd be surprised as well, because even when you begin to write something that is simply about you, maybe you just had an experience or an insight or something, you can pretty much always turn this into a lesson, even if it's just like one sentence of wisdom that is kind of like your gift to them. You can pretty much always turn it into something that's actually very valuable for the people who read your email. And of course, you can go for the purely inspiring life update from yourself, but that tend to not be super attractive to people in the long run. So definitely see how you can bake in a lesson or a inspiration or an insight or something. And whatever feels easiest for you, I would say start there. So if it feels easier for you to in one moment start with sharing an inspiring update from your own life, then start there and see what flows. Very often a lesson will reveal itself as a surprise. Okay, so Eve, you say, adding hello perfectionism, exactly. Yeah, and you'll find, you learn how to swim by getting in the water, and this is another example of this. So simply start with where you're at and then continue, and just know that your voice and your message is going to keep on refining itself. And when you share a personal update, then definitely feel free to tune into, okay, what is an insight or a piece of wisdom or a message that is related to your core message or your core teaching that you can bake in there. Okay, so Dominic says, thank you, loves, for this. Very practically inspiring. I do feel like I want to create a collection of content first that I could share in my emails and have a more clear communication plan. So many things to feel into first for me. Excited. Yes, this can be great. And so a really great way to do this is to tune into what is it that you want to sell and what is it that you want to offer and what is your core message and your core teaching. And then from that place, see how you can reverse engineer that, not just reverse engineering the sale as we have talked about before, but reverse engineering your content. So for example, if you have a course coming up around, say, intimacy or relationships, then see how you can reverse engineer and brainstorm a bunch of topics that are related to intimacy, that are related to relationship skills, communication skills, attraction skills, etc. If you are offering, say, you're about soon to offer a detox course or something around health, then see if you can you can brainstorm a bunch of topics that are related to exactly that. Say different things to eat, not to eat, how to think for optimal health, different rituals that you can do. So there's so much you can just brainstorm. So if you tune into what you want to offer, then reverse engineer a bunch of topics from there, and then you can actually place them into your calendar. You can literally drag and drop, and there is an plugin in WordPress that you can use for this, but you can also just use any place where you would take notes, where you brainstorm a shit ton of topics and keep a running list of ideas, which is one of the most effective things you can do, to just always have a notebook or a document or something where any moment you get an idea for a blog post or a video or an audio, you just put that down there. And then you can literally map out week by week, or say if you have it every other week, maybe you send something to your list. I wouldn't recommend going longer than 2 weeks in between. And 1 week is kind of a sweet spot, tends to be, for how often to send people something. But feel free to tune into what feels good for you. If you have never been consistent with blogging or creativity in terms of content, then I would say start with once every 2 weeks and try to stick to that as much as you can. That is better than going like 3 weeks in a row and then dropping off the planet for the next 6 months and then coming back from the dead half of a year later. So if you want to start out and be consistent, then every 2 weeks can be a really good starting point. And so, yeah, so you can map out different topics that you can blog about or video about, can put them out into your calendar. And you could even reverse engineer so that if you know, okay, every Wednesday or every other Wednesday I'm publishing a blog post, then that means that maybe Monday I'm creating the first shaded draft, and then Tuesday I'm finalizing it, and then Wednesday I send it out to my list. So you could even make a little schedule like that if that excites you. Now, personally, I used to do more of this where I would map out a lot of topics, and then I would purposefully write blog posts or make videos related to them. And now I'm kind of much more in the flow where ideas just come to me and then I just film them right away. And so personally, I actually have a lot of videos that I just haven't uploaded yet. So it's kind of a growing bank of content and stuff that I can share with people. I think probably tomorrow I'm going to edit a video that I shot in Mexico about my goddess morning ritual, which is really, really beautiful for starting in flow and inspiration and energized aliveness for urban goddesses like yourself. All right, so that's my answer to that question. Let's see if there's anything more. I don't think we have received any pre-submitted questions as far as I'm aware of, but I'm on here for a bit longer if there's anything more you need to know, you want to know. And in terms of the tech side of things, we're going to put in all the links into the playbook, and pretty much every single thing that you can click on, or I would say every single thing you can click on, they have, you know, if you go to ClickFunnels, or if you go to Lead Pages, or if you go to Kajabi, or if you go to MailChimp or ConvertKit, then they have tutorial videos. So you don't actually necessarily need to ask me and Leonie. And the reason why we don't walk you through each one of these components or each one of these modalities or portals for where you can place your email list and your opt-ins, etc., is because it's already there. Like each one of those companies have already created tutorial videos that you can just click and watch, and they walk you through exactly how to set up your email list, exactly how to create an opt-in, and anything you could possibly want. Now, if there's something that you don't find there, then you can ask us and we can come to your rescue. But in general, then everything is already there. So Eve is asking, I heard that some people are deleting from their email lists those who do not answer or don't open their emails. I don't think this will be relevant for a while now for me, but for example, how do you do this? Okay, so I haven't actually done this, but I know that at some point I probably will. At this point, my email list is actually really engaged, like I have a really high open rate. And so for me, it hasn't really felt relevant to clean out inactive users. But one thing that you can do, if you notice that you have a big email list and you're just paying to send emails to people who haven't opened them for like 5 years, then it's definitely cleaning time to do some feng shui for your email list. And then what you can do is that you can select within your email service provider, you can select to segments so that you say only send this to people who haven't opened any emails for, say, the last 6 months, for example. If they haven't opened a single email from you for the last 6 months, it's very likely that's going to be true for the coming 6 months and so on. And so then what you can do is that you can send them an email simply saying like, hey, do you not want to be friends anymore? Or whatever subject line you want to put to that you feel would actually speak to your ICA, and simply let them know that, you know, we have noticed that you are on our list and you haven't opened any of the emails for a long time. And so in order for both of us to just have the best life possible and not take up unnecessary space in each other's lives, if you don't want to stay on the list and if you don't want to have your inbox cluttered up by our stuff that you never even open, then unsubscribe below. Or you can do it in the reverse, where you let them know that if they don't say click on this button or reply to the email and say, yes, I still want to be on your list, then they will be cleaned, say 2 weeks from now or something like that, or 1 week from now. So that is a pretty good way of doing that. So Mia's asking, what is a really high open rate for you? I would say somewhere between 25 and 40%. I would say on average, I'm probably somewhere around 30%. I think industry average is somewhere just between maybe 4 and 14%. And so it's way above average in terms of what the industry standard is. But the open rate can vary very, very highly depending on how frequently you send your emails and how engaged your subscribers are. So for example, I'm on one email list for Katla Terzo, and she tends to email, say, like, she sometimes sends emails several times per day, and I open maybe one email per month from her. So if she was only emailing 4 times per month, then I would open maybe a quarter of her emails, but now she's sending stuff every single day. And I love what she writes, but it's just so much that I don't have time to open it. And so I can imagine that she has a pretty low open rate simply because of the amount of emails that she sends to people. And cool, you have that too. That's really nice. Okay, so what about conversion rate? Do you think that most sales comes from emails? Definitely. Yes, and that's true, Mia, in direct marketing. So about conversion rates, I would say if I were to look at sales into online courses as well as the live events, I would say yes, the majority come from, the number 1 would be email list, and this number 2 would be Facebook. Because there's definitely, especially when it comes to live events, a lot of people come through via Facebook events. That's a huge one as well. But definitely the email list is the number 1 thing. And statistically, in general, if we just look across the entire world, people are something like 6 times more likely to take action if something comes via email compared to via Facebook. And so per person, it is definitely a much, much, much higher ROI, conversion rate, return on investment compared to social media. So yes, the email list is going to be the highest converting asset, much higher than Facebook or Instagram or anything else. Okay, sweet. So I'll just give it a few seconds to see if there are any more questions coming in, and otherwise we might wrap it up. And just know that if you missed any part of the live stream because of anything with your connection, then we'll make sure that every part of everything is in the replay so that you can go back and catch up on any part of it that you missed, as well as putting in all the keys and links and components into the playbook. So Mia says, I'm on MailChimp. I have about 500 people on my list, and of course want them to grow faster than me inserting new names after events. Is there an opt-in function at MailChimp? Yes, there is. So if you go to lists and then you click on that specific email list, and then you click on sign up forms, and then you can create, and you want to select the one that says general forms. And depending on where you place it, it's going to look a certain way. So the MailChimp embed form that you find through MailChimp is pretty boring, in my opinion. So I wouldn't want to go with that one. But within, say, ClickFunnels or Lead Pages, or even a lot of WordPress plugins, you'll find that you can actually just integrate MailChimp into those pages. So for example, when you sign up for the Live Your Passion Challenge, then that was all built within ClickFunnels, but then we had that integrated with ConvertKit such that, and this is very simple, you just need to have usually the list ID or the API key, which you can find inside ConvertKit or MailChimp, and then you place that into, say, ClickFunnels, and then it's automatically added so that when people opt in there, then they are added to your email list. So I would recommend finding a way to make it really beautiful and appealing, and then just integrate that into MailChimp. Okay, so Alicia says, Mia, you can do an opt-in from your website that flows directly into MailChimp. Exactly. So depending on what your website is built on, the integration might be a little bit different, but they integrate with pretty much everything by now. Yeah, great. Then you can do it on Facebook as well. Squarespace, absolutely. I haven't personally worked with Squarespace, so I wouldn't say exactly how to do it, but Squarespace is one of the most established in the world. So I would be super surprised if they didn't have an integration with, say, MailChimp and even like Aweber and GetResponse and all of the most established email list builders. By the way, an email list provider that we haven't actually really mentioned so much, other than I think in maybe module 4 at some point in the playbook, is one called Namaste Light, I believe it's called. And that is one that is a little bit more pricey, but they also plant trees every time you send an email broadcast. And this is what the global Acro Yoga community uses, and a lot of artists like MC Yogi and other people who are a bit more into spirituality, they tend to use Namaste Light. So that's one to look into if you have your email list provided to be specifically spiritually aligned. Great. Alicia says some really practical tips. Thank you, ladies. You're welcome. Okay, so Mia and Susanne, feel free to check out Squarespace and let us know. And if you can find anything out that you want us to put into the playbook, which is being created right now actually, then let us know ASAP, and otherwise we can just put that into some notes in module 8 in the members area. Cool. Yes, and so Alicia is kind of giving a ninja tip. She says, I will just Google Squarespace's add-ons. For example, Google Squarespace, MailChimp integration. So Google is going to be your best friend when it comes to anything out. Just Google whatever it is you want to know, and I can guarantee that there's a ton of tutorials and walkthroughs. So, which is why we're not really to exist. Cool. Yes. And ClickFunnels is actually a place where you can build your entire website, and you can even have blogs and stuff there. So personally, I still have my website on WordPress, and then I have my other pages on ClickFunnels, and then I have the online academy, the Sensory Genie, and of course the Abundant Passionpreneur inside the new Kajabi. So those are ones I personally use. Okay, sweethearts. So seeing if there are any more questions. So I get that this is a pretty techy module in terms of the setup of everything. So what I would recommend, tune into the replay and or tune into, well, of course, also tune into the playbook and go through the list of the different strategies of building your list that we have listed. Really tune into which one pulls you and excites you, as in which one feels the most easy, the most flowing, the most effortless, and the most doable for you. And start with doing that. And like I said, nail one first. I wouldn't advise trying to do a bunch of stuff at the same time. It's kind of like trying to straddle 2 horses at once. I wouldn't recommend it. And then when you have the satisfaction of putting one up, you can add another one, etc. And yes, I've heard a lot of great stuff about Squarespace. I just haven't personally. But I know you can create really beautiful and really professional looking websites with that as well. And with this, really take it one step at a time, in the sense of that you don't need to do all of it at once, but start with tuning into what kind of opt-in offer do you want to, would be my recommendation for the #1 thing to start with. What kind of opt-in offer do you want to have, and then map out ideas for that. And for this, also reference module 4, where we go into much more in depth how to create awesome opt-ins. Okay, ladies, so it looks like there are no more questions right now, so I feel moved to wrap it up for today. And so for this, let's just take a moment to connect with all the women around the world who are tuned in. We have Bali and Europe and New Jersey, the States, and people from all over the world tuning in right now. And so both you who are watching it live, as well as those of you who are watching the replay, taking a moment to once again connect into the women's circle of passionpreneurs tuning into this right now. And for this, as soon as you have, or when it feels aligned for you, when you have an idea for an opt-in or something that is either half finished or completely finished, then share that in the comments area underneath module 8 and or in the Facebook group, because the more we can share it by each other, the more it helps for the flow of the entire group. And so feel free to post your half-finished ideas, your first shooter drafts of an opt-in, get feedback and start flowing to creating them. And especially also let us celebrate and acknowledge you when you have one up and running. And also feel free to be beta testers for each other. So if you have an opt-in that is actually opt-in doable, then let us know and we can have women opt in and go through the experience and also give you useful feedback and tips for how it can become even better, as well as some testimonials for each other. So we can also begin to build just a social proof for each other in this. Okay, so with that, signing off from Amsterdam, wishing you all a beautiful evening.